Big Dookie Chain Podcast, Ramiro Torres, Van Styles Cash. And that's it. No, only kidding. It's Ramiro. I fucking love these guys. The Big Dookie Chain Podcast. It's my favorite podcast, and I haven't even heard an episode yet. That's how good it is.
My man,
Van Styles, Chris Tash, all the pussy running around here.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Hush, fangirling Drake all day. I love you guys.
Okay. Big Dookie Chain. Myself, Van Styles, Tash to my left, Hush behind the cameras, and we got Ramiro in the studio. This is amazing. Somebody I've looked up to forever, having been in radio, having done WVRS, and you've been current the last 25 plus years.
Yeah, I don't know why. I literally don't know why. I think it's just I'm very consistent, I guess.
Yeah, you've never pissed off the wrong people.
Yeah, not the wrong people.
Yeah,
I pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you pissed off a lot of people, but not the people that are going to move you out of your position. So you've managed to stay in position for over 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is? I think a lot of it has to do with it's what I was just talking to you guys about off air. It's just being consistent with stuff. You know, I've never had the mentality, especially now. I think just a lot of the generation now has a mentality of they want to go from like 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, no, you build every single day.
Yeah,
be consistent, do something. You don't. Life isn't about one big event like the lottery, where a pound of money falls in your lap. It's about just
consistent small steps.
Consistent small steps every day. You live your day the way you live your life. So set up your day the way you control what you can control. Start off on a front foot. A lot of people start off on the back foot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they get up late.
And then they eat Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, and then they're rushing and they're like, oh shit, I gotta stop at Dunkin'. And these are all things they can control.
Right.
But they're not doing it. And then when life happens, which always happens, now they're like back. They started off behind 1 step. Now they're starting 2, 3, 4 steps. So
what's your morning routine?
I get up at 2:00 in the morning. I work out. I do a whole bunch of shit before
2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I go to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's why when Chris was telling me about coming on the podcast, I'm like, I always feel whenever somebody asks me to do something, I'm like, I can do it, but all right, well, we can do it early. We'll do it at 7:00 on a Monday. I'm like, I'm in bed at 7:00 on a Monday.
But you're here right now.
I am, because I have tomorrow off. That's
okay.
Why
Yeah. Memorial Day weekend.
So I have to ask you though. This has just been burning in my brain. When you're talking to people, right? And the same question goes for him as well too. People might not know who you are because your face isn't like on the radio, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking to somebody, do you ever see like the wheels start to turn in their head?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Like when I first started out, it would be like, you know, I'd go to a restaurant and be like, oh, can I get water? And you'd see the person turn around and they go, say something else, because they recognize your voice. Now with and we've been on billboards and things like that, but also like with Google,
people know what you look like.
Accidentally, they kind of like somehow come across you. So. But they won't say anything to you. They'll kind of like, I'll see them walk by. And at this point, I've seen every possible look and I've gotten every energy of it, you know? So I'll see somebody do the walk by, the eye glance, the walk away. They think they're hiding, but I can still see them in the corner, pull out their phone, Google to make sure it's me, and then come back and just start a random conversation with me, which now at least I can get it. Before, when I didn't know people knew what I looked like or whatever. Or if they saw me from something, they'd come up and just start talking to me. And in my head, I'm going, is this like an old friend from school? Is this a friend of the family? Is this like a listener? I couldn't figure out who they were. Now I know. I'm like, okay, I know.
Because you have a very distinct voice. I mean, I'm sure that would help. And you're from Boston, right? Boston area?
Yeah, I grew up in Everett.
Okay, so you've been here like your whole life.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe now people can Google you. But I mean, from the beginning of this, like...
No.
Yeah, no one, like, it just, you would hear, like, I remember I ran into the guy who did the movie guy.
Yeah.
I ran into that guy once. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like, shit, the bald dude? What was his name? I know his
he had a ponytail, but he was the guy who would, like, do the movie overdubs. Like, coming soon to new theaters. Like, that guy. It was that guy. And I'm like, and he did it. And I was like, oh, shit, you're that guy, you know? So it's kind of like one of those things. You have, like, one of those things going on. Like, so, like, how long have you been on the radio for?
Oh, since, 29 years.
29
Okay, I was close.
Yeah.
To dovetail off that, what we were just talking about, and 29 years.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest fan experience that you've had?
Ah, God, I have to go back. Let's see.
Or just one of them. It doesn't have to be.
I mean, there was before when we did autograph. Like every now and then I'll do like an autograph now, but now everyone just likes to do pictures and stuff like that. But before, I mean, girls would just like ask you to autograph, their tits and all that stuff. Right. When I was like, okay, you're gonna keep it? You're gonna wash that? What are we doing with this?
Has anyone taken one of those and gotten a tattoo of it?
I had you know what? That reminded me. I had a girl get my face.
Oh no!
And my autograph tattooed on her. I think it was her left shoulder.
That's when you get the restraining order.
Do you know this woman?
No, she did it for like we used to do a boat cruise, and it would sell out every year. And she wanted to come on really bad, and I said, "We got an extra pair of tickets. Get tattooed." And she did.
This is your idea.
It was my idea, and she got and so she came in. We had a guy come in, tattoo her, and then I signed it. And he tattooed my autograph, and she still has it to this day because I'll meet people who are like, "I had sex with a girl."
Oh no!
And like you're looking at me.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's way wilder than
for someone to come
up
up to you too after that and then bring it up to you and be like, "Hey, by the way, I was fucking this chick and your face was staring at me though."
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to say to that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect her to be like,
"Yeah, I put it there."
I thought it would be like, "Oh, I went to get an operation and the brain surgeon had a tattoo of you." I think I knew where she was gonna go in life.
It's just that's crazy. Like there was like I was getting on the train.
All right,
once.
you're corporate, but you're not that corporate. I'm realizing at this moment. I was gonna be like, "What's off limits discussing?"
I'll talk about whatever. I'm not ignoring. I'm looking for the picture.
Oh no, yeah. I need to see this picture. Believe me.
I remember one time getting on the train at the Red Line, Quincy Center, like 10, 15 years ago, and there was she was hot, but she had a big picture of like a baby's face on the center of her back.
Yeah. And
what she just said was all I could think about. Like when you're smashing her, and like is this a fucking picture? Like it was detailed too, like a fucking nice picture.
This isn't a small. When I find it, it's not a small tattoo. We had a guy too get it was a cartoon of myself and Pebbles, a giant one on his forearm, and that was like I think it was for wrestling tickets or something like. Boom!
Jesus.
Here we go. Hold on a second. Well, first of all, there's me autographing it right before I got they tattooed the autograph.
Pretty big, yeah.
Oh, hold on. This is a picture right here.
Oh, and she doesn't have other tattoos. Oh my God!
Like it's a tattoo of you, like a memorial to you.
It looks so.
Yeah. It was a picture. Yeah. It was a picture. Like we used to do like almost like press pictures almost.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those. And she got it tattooed.
And so, since this was your idea, no part of you felt. Did you feel any guilt?
What's crazier is that I'm expecting her to have like his arms. Like, you know what I mean? And she adds like another tattoo there. That's her only tattoo.
I think that's the only one she has. Yeah. At least it's the most memorable one she has.
We just saw her back. There was literally nothing else on, and it wasn't like the I don't know. It wasn't the best. Like it wasn't. I don't know. It looked like I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I also have to ask you because you said you're not corporate as much as we would think, and times have changed. Your nickname.
Oh, the freaking Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
How did we get there?
That was.
And you think you could still have that? You think you could start with that nickname now? Like if you came out today as the freaking Puerto Rican.
If it was now, probably.
Maybe
it's tough, right?
Yeah, it's maybe people. It's weird. People get sensitive about the most ridiculous.
Fucked.
Yeah, they get really sensitive about stupid things. But
I mean, this is the early '90s, right?
Yeah, I did it because it was when I first got on, and one of the other personalities that was on was like, I got a friend in the West Coast. He calls himself the freaking Puerto Rican. I'm gonna call you that. And I remember I was like arguing with him. I was like, no, that's stupid. So he would start saying it when I was coming up after him, just kind of like because he knew it annoyed me. And then it kind of stuck, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If it sticks and it gets you attention.
Right? Yeah, that alliteration is nice and easy for people to remember. Yeah. Have you met Tony Touch?
Maybe.
Okay, I just wondered if you two ever.
Do you think that all Puerto Ricans just know each other?
Hey, but that's a Puerto Rican who is constantly hosting events. Like
it's just
consistently. We all know each other. We're all
cousins. Yeah, I know. Is that your cousin?
The island is
Tony
small.
Touch your cousin?
Probably.
The island is small. Beautiful fucking island. The island is small but beautiful.
Yeah.
Went there last.
Oh, get out of here!
Last birthday, I was there last. The Coquille, I drove the whole island. Fucking, I went to everywhere. Did you ever go in that cave? The Indian cave, the cave of the Indian up there by what's the surf town on the top there? Rincon.
I don't think I have. No, I've gone to the rainforest, but I haven't gone to
there's like this fucking cave you have to like climb up and then like shimmy in, and when you get down in there's like petroglyphs. It's like 3,000 petroglyphs. Like
really?
That are like 10,000 years old. I'll show you pictures when you're done.
Hell
but
yeah.
it's fucking wild. Puerto Rico's dope.
I love Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico's fucking is dope.
I haven't been, as my alabaster white, paper white skin can attest to.
So can we start like just to get a background? Like how do you get into radio?
How did I get in?
Like, how did you get into like how did your journey start?
You got into it at age 19, right?
So I got into it. I got on air at 19.
Okay.
I got into it at 18.
Because there's people. I mean, honestly, if we want to, everyone's like, I want to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to. At some point in their life, is like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I want to be on the radio. How the hell did you manage that?
Because I wanted to be on the radio. No, I was.
You wanted it more than most.
No. So what happened was Remember, well, you guys are probably the age. Remember, it's still on right now. NFL Primetime, that show. But when I loved it, it was, hey, kitty. It was Chris Berman and Tom Jackson doing the highlights. And I just remember one day I was like, that was like my favorite show. It was my favorite show. Favorite. And just one day I just kind of thought to myself, I said, why do I love this show so much when you could get a football highlight show on every channel? Everybody was doing it. And then I realized it was because the way they delivered. It wasn't because of the highlights. It was the way they delivered it. They almost did it like a story. Everybody had a nickname. They did sound effects. If somebody fumbled, he'd go, whoop, stuff like that. So I said, oh, it's the way that they're delivering it. So that kind of like planted the seed. And then I didn't want, honestly, I didn't really have anyone in my family who I had a cousin who went to college, but like nobody like really super close to me. So nobody ever really sat me down and told me what college really was. Mm-hmm. Now that I have a couple kids, well, one of my son graduated and I have a daughter in college and another one going, like, I'm like, I probably would have done the college route. But at the time, I literally thought college was where you went to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Well, it's interesting because he went to college to end up on the radio.
Emerson.
Yeah, but I originally went there for writing literature publishing, and then I was like, I need to get in on the radio thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit roundabout, but yeah, I guess like you don't need college to go into radio. I mean,
which is why
your example, but
yeah. So then when I thought about it, I said, okay, if I go to college, now we're talking about 18 to 22. At 22, I get out. I want to start figuring out getting into the business. If I can get into the business at 18, at 22, I'm gonna have 4 years of experience.
That's worth way more than if you had gone to college with those
Yeah.
years for radio. If you know what you want to do,
Right.
there's no reason.
So in high school, there was a friend of mine who had a pamphlet for it was called Northeast Broadcasting School.
Okay.
And he wanted to be like a DJ. And he showed me the pamphlet and I was like, radio, TV? It's like it was like an extra year of high school. It was like, whatever, September to May or whatever. And I was like, I want to go here. So I went there and the way it was broken up was the first 4 months or whatever. It was, they give you some radio stuff and TV, but you're doing it. You're practicing and all that stuff. And then you pick one. You pick radio or TV and you go for like an internship. So I wanted to do radio and they had now everything's online, but at the time it was like a cork board, like when you go into like a Starbucks or something and it's like, oh, roommates wanted, and they have like the things.
Yep.
So they had the internships at different radio stations. So what you were supposed to do was write down the number and on your own call the place and whatever. But I saw they had one for JAMN. And I just took the paper off the thing and stuck it in my pocket and called them non-stop to the point where the dude who was answering phones, he's still my friend to this day because he would answer the phone and be like, he'd go, JAMN 94.5, this is Bruce. And I'd be like, hi, can I? And he'd go, oh, Ramiro, hold on. Let me see if Pete's available for you. That's the guy who was in charge of the interns. And I was just used to getting put through to voicemail or whatever. And one day he just picked it up and he goes, just show up tonight. And so, and I showed up, and
that was your move when you wanted to get AWOL.
We're laughing about it because my group AWOL, when I was about in 2004, 5, and 6. I had a group called AWOL Hip Hop Group. 2 black guys, 2 white guys. There's an article up there in the Herald that Chris Verone wrote. We're the first group from the suburbs to go to the city and actually start doing shows there, like profitable shows. Like hip hop, when I was doing it, white dudes weren't doing it yet, and nobody was really rapping yet. Now everybody raps.
Yeah.
But it wasn't cool yet then, you know what I'm saying? So we did that, but he was the DJ for the only radio station that would play underground hip-hop. So I would literally call non-stop.
Yeah, different. He would use different voices.
Yeah.
That's how I got all my records on the radio. But then once the first one got on, it was one after the other after the other. There was like 10 of our records were on the radio like once, you know what I'm saying? But then he's still sitting here to this day. But that exact thing you're saying, like non-stop.
I don't think anybody does that these days.
I would call him because I was a girl. I'd be like,
you do what you can.
And I give him the phone, and I give you the phone. I give him the phone. Every vote counts.
But that's persistence. I look at that as a good thing. It's persistence. And I think a lot of people now are like, they'll try something. They get shut down for some reason, and they're immediately like, this sucks. It's not for me. I don't want to do it. It's unfair.
I'm trying to get an X bag right now, and every day I just send her these like book-long messages. Is that good? Is that, guys?
There's a weird line.
Well, he does do second date update if you want.
Yeah. Right.
So
I should call it.
This is the way I see it. It's an X, so it's not like a girl that you're trying to. If it's a brand new girl, so
that might scare her.
Well, if it's a brand new girl, right? You could get a girl who's right now, you'll see her with her husband or whatever, and you're like, oh, how'd you meet? She's like, I met him and he was into me, but I wasn't into him, but he would show up at my job and a restaurant. He said, well, I'm going to marry you one day and whatever. And one day he wore me down and we finally went out and he won me over. But you can get someone else to tell the same story about the guy and be
totally
like,
different ending.
And it'd be like, and I eventually called the police and got a fucking restraining order. And that to me, it's like, okay, so one guy was good looking and one guy.
I always say, it's like
harassment if he's ugly.
Yeah, so it's like there's a difference. There's a line between persistence and
your attractiveness to the woman's attractiveness. But like if you were like out at someone's front lawn in the rain with the boombox, being like, whatever. Well, it's reminding me of like, imagine like a woman going to her fucking bedroom window, looking out on her front lawn. It's a guy there holding a boombox.
Yeah.
To say anything.
Like you would literally fucking call the police and get that person like arrested and probably some kind of restraining order.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's absolutely insane. But that's Pepe Le Pew.
It is Pepe Le Pew, yeah. Who I don't know. I heard
rapist.
Yeah, who a couple of years ago everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's wrong." Everybody loves now looking at stuff years ago and going, wow, that's fucked up. It's like, yeah, because you're looking at it from the lens of now.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that. A lot of shit was fucked up back in the day if you look at it the way you look at stuff now. But at the time, it was fine. You can't go back and go, hey, this person did. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see what fill in the blank tweeted back in 2009?
Yeah.
And it's like,
no.
So they did one tweet that you don't agree with now in 2024. Since then, they've been killing it. I'm like, so now you want to cancel them?
Have you ever heard of that rapper Prof, comedy rapper? He used to be on Rhymesayers. That's what he got booted for. Was like a tweet he did in 2009 and got kicked off the label.
There's a lot of people that that happens to right now. So
one sec, because I apologize, Ramiro. I know you're over here. Your eyeing might change, and you're like, when do I get one? It's the Dookie chain. I'm not going to leave your neck naked over there.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
That's pure gold.
So,
you know,
you started the radio at 19 years old.
18.
18 years old. In what year was that? So in the 2000s, you're
19, so I graduated in 94. That's when I started broadcasting school, and that's when I started interning, and I got on air in 95.
So you're in your 20s in the 90s, like the mid 20s, like
early 20s.
Yeah, you're in the 20s. So I mean, you're into hip hop at the time, I imagine, right? All right. So. Like what I want to. So were you aware of 88 like being on 95? Were you aware of 88.9 at night?
Yeah. So when I was listening, it was Cherry Martinez, who I love. She was the one hosting the. That's how it always was. So 88.9, they were like, "Who's the person hosting the night show, dropping the real hip hop?"
Yeah.
And then like they say to me, "Yo, you got to be like 88.9 at night." And I'm like, "Listen, I got to be honest. I don't give a shit what I play. I just like making people laugh in between the songs."
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to ask about too, because like. Being someone like that was trying to break into the music business, like back then, like there was only so many outlets. Trish Verone was writing in the Herald. He would play your songs in 88.9, and then there was JAMN, which would let you do the launch pad. Like I was in the launch pad a bunch of times, G-Spin and shit like that. but you could never. We broke one song, did finally get into rotation on 94.5. It was a song called Deep End, which did get into like somewhat rotation, but it's really fucking hard for a local act to get play on 94.5. I'm just curious, like, how do you feel about that?
I honestly, I didn't think about it twice. Because it was whatever they did for research and figured out this is what people want to hear. This is how many times people want to hear it. I'm like, all right, cool, not my job. So when people would say stuff to me, I'd be like, listen, I'm not in charge of playing the shit. I'm not. When the stuff comes on, I turn the volume down. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do next. Aren't you sick of hearing this all the time? I go, I don't hear it all the time.
That's interesting. So, like, I mean, I think it's obvious that people know that, like, commercial DJs have a playlist. Like, I think, especially now. I mean, maybe back in the 80s and 90s, they might have had more free range, but especially now with Clear Channel, all that shit, it's like, it's just, that's what it is. iHeart, whatever. Like, so you never were interested in being, like, an actual DJ. Your interest was in between the songs getting your comedy off.
I wanted to entertain. So when I was saying about the NFL primetime, and I started figuring out, like, I wanted to figure out a way to use my personality to entertain people. I remember, again, I sat down. It's so different now because now you can research a lot of stuff on the internet and everything, but we didn't have that back then. Or it was like super early days. And I sat down and I was like, okay, what could I apply this to? And I remember I was like, okay, radio, TV, or stand-up comedy. And in my head, with knowing nobody in any of these things, I started kind of going, okay, TV, everyone's like they go off a script. I don't really want to go off a script. Maybe I could do comedy. But with comedy, like you write your routine and
just rehash.
You rehash it for 6 months, 8 months, whatever. I don't even know how long it is, and you might change it up a little bit if you travel from one city to another, but for the most part, it's doing the same thing. Radio seems like they're doing something different every single day, and that's why I went in that direction.
Do they ever write out the host's breaks?
Yeah,
some do. Oh my god, yeah. And they've talked to me about doing that, and I'm like, no way. I like doing it. Like, you want to know what direction you're gonna go in,
right?
But what I love about radio is, everyone talks about reality TV and all that stuff. I'm like, no, this is like reality happening in real time. So like we could be going in a direction with something and somebody calls up and you're like, all right, well, let's go in that direction,
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it. But I know some people that they're like, oh, I have to write everything down. I'm like, why? If you fuck up, you fuck up. It's like you're if I'm having a conversation with you and I flub on a word, I'm just going to be like, oh, I meant to say this,
right,
and then keep the conversation moving.
But is it ever the station higher-ups that are like, you have to have everything written out, or that's just a personal choice?
Well, my personal choice.
Your choice is not to.
Yeah.
But there's other DJs.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on who the program director is at what radio station.
Okay.
And you might have somebody who that might be the best way they work. I assume it's similar probably to like TV and movies. Some people are like, this is the script, but kind of go on,
improvise a little bit.
Yeah, improvise. And some people, it's like, well, I need to know the line for line for line for line.
Have you ever accidentally sworn on air?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what happens? You just hope that.
Well,
what is it? The
we
red
have a producer
phone?
Our producer hits a dump button. But
okay,
5 second delay.
I think we're at like a 7 second. Yeah, something like that. But what's funny is now, every now and then, somebody will call up, like a caller,
and
swear, and I could see like my producer going, hit the thing, because I have the button, and I'm like, nah, let it go, because let it go. It gives like a realness to it, right?
But couldn't that get you a huge fine or no?
If you're somebody who's listening for the first time, has never experienced it, and have like a stick up your ass, you could complain. But the way I look at it is, a huge portion of our audience, we've been on for so long, they have a relationship with us.
Yeah.
And that's how they talk. Like nobody calls up and just goes, fuck you, cunt. Ball liquor, whatever, like cock bag. Like they're just
Tourette's
like, it's like, it's like they're just telling us a story,
right?
And you know how it is when you're talking to your friend, and that's how they see us. So they're like, yeah. And the next thing you know, I went down the fucking street and I saw him and I told him this. I'm like, leave it.
But it's not like there's someone from the FCC listening. It has to be a complaint is lodged.
It has to
and
be
if there's enough complaints,
then
they
like,
might.
Then they'll investigate
Okay.
or whatever.
Have you ever gotten in trouble for anything you've said on the radio?
I've had people complain about stuff. I've never gotten in trouble for it. I've been spoken to.
What was the complaint that was filed?
A lot of it used to be people complaining, saying, so if you listen to the show, we goof on.
You know that everybody's heard your show, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So you listen. No,
show.
but like
every single person's listening to your show. So let me just say something. You are a voice of a generation. I don't know if you even know this. I had to tell him the same thing because, like, on your side of it, you don't get it. Every single day I was talking to him about this. I'm from Weymouth. I'm from here. I grew up in Weymouth. Yeah. I'm 43 years old. So since I've been about 15, 16 years old, when I was getting on a bus to go to school, or even before that, when I was like 14 years old, I was getting the bus to go to junior high school. Then when I got my first license and my first job, or I was taking the train with my headphones going into Boston to go to work in like the warehouses and stuff like that, all the way to get my first thing and riding in with my father in the morning, then getting in the trucks and driving out. But we've always listened to 94.5 because it literally is the only like hip hop station in our Boston market. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's for better, for worse. Like, it's not the most hip hop station, but it was like the most hip hop station we have.
Yeah.
So you're a voice of a generation of people. There's like 7,000 people on my Facebook. There isn't a single person on it that hasn't heard your voice. Oh, like, I don't know if like you think about stuff like that, though. You have like, it's a power. It's like a responsibility in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're literally, all those college kids, you just dropped your daughter off of college today.
Yeah.
For the last 25 years, all those kids that are moving into college have listened to you.
Yeah, it's fun seeing people.
Like, do you ever like? Yeah. I mean, because you're on the radio, it's a fun job. But do you ever like sit back and just go like, damn, like I have like, I know power is like a weird way to put it, but like, you do have influence and you do have power because people have listened to you talk. I mean, I have gray before I had a beard. Before I can grow a beard, you know, but I have a 21-year-old daughter before I had kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a long.
Have you been asked to officiate a wedding?
I officiated a wedding between listeners, and last I heard, they were still married. And then I did it for my ex-sister-in-law. She's still married, and I did it for my wife's cousin and his wife, and they're still married. So
wow, yeah, you got the.
Yeah,
that is crazy. But like, have you ever like even thought about that? Like,
every now and then, if somebody like the way you're saying,
like, and I don't mean to like, but like, it really is like a massive like weight of that. Like, wow, really, like hundreds of thousands of people every single morning wake up with my thoughts.
Yeah, I look at it more like, I have had people say to me, they're like, oh, you know, because of you, it gave me the confidence or whatever to try this.
That's true.
And yeah, so I look at it more like it's like a relationship as opposed to like the responsibility of like, I don't know, preaching to people or saying this is what
I even mean it more like it's comfort.
Yeah, I say I like to be an appliance, and everyone's like, "What do you mean an appliance?" And I'm like, "Because what do you do when you get up in the morning? You freaking put your toast in the toaster, you microwave your freaking whatever, you put the radio on, and just like
it's in the background."
Yeah, I'm like, just have us on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, let's suppose maybe someone like went to college for 4 years and went across to the West Coast, and they came back.
Yeah,
and their first morning show, it's like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah, the comfortability.
It's like grandma's breakfast type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you ever really like think about that kind of stuff, but it's kind of cool when you really put it in perspective. Of not even like not inspiration or effect like that, but just every day there's a big part of Massachusetts that wakes up and listens to you.
Of all ages,
all races, all sexualities, all everything across the political line, everything across the lines. That just check out what you have to say.
I mean, I love it. I don't think about it sometimes just because you're so
in it.
Yeah, you're so like, what do they say? You're so far in the forest, you don't see the trees sometimes. Yeah. So like, but whenever someone says something and I'm like, oh, wow, you've been listening for a while. And then, but it's funny because the way it is, and you're saying like all different ages, somebody might listen to me and they might only know me from Hot. I've been at Hot now since 2016.
We're gonna get to all that as well too.
Yeah. But somebody else might listen and be like, oh my God, I mean, I remember, when he got divorced or whatever. Mm-hmm. And somebody else, they'll remember when I had my freaking kids and first got married. So it's all
like, we'd be on the school bus.
Yeah.
Like listening to the Jams game.
Yeah. I would have people say, oh, that's what bonded me with my kids, driving them to school, and that's something we both listen to, and
then to work.
Yeah, yeah.
And then to,
so that's very cool.
It's super cool, and it's a very unique thing that not many people in this world really have that perspective.
Yeah, but what's funny about that is right now radio is like fucking trying to figure it out, just like the business in general is doing crazy shitty because of just online and podcasts and all that stuff. And every time I've spoken to someone, I'm like, listen, I don't know how we can capitalize on this, but what does radio have right now that nobody outside of sports, nobody else has? And no one ever has the answer. And I'm like, this is what it is. Shared experience, like simultaneously. So a sports game, not many people will say, don't tell me what happened with the Celtics, I'm gonna watch it later. No, you're gonna watch it at the time the game's happening, the Patriots, whatever. And when we're on, yes, we podcast the show and stuff like that, but for the most part, if we do something funny at 8:30, a bunch of people are experiencing it at the same time. It used to be like that with TV shows, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. You had like Sopranos or whatever. Everybody was like, Sunday night, that's what I'm watching. Monday morning, you're talking about it. If somebody missed it and they're like, I taped it, you're like, then get the fuck out of the room because we're going to talk about it.
Right.
But now with streaming, right, what happens? You're into a show, Yellowstone or whatever, and I'll be like, are you into Yellowstone? You're like, yeah, but I'm on season 1, episode 7. Don't tell me what happened. And you're on season 4, episode 5. So you guys can't bond about that.
Yeah.
Where before you had the shared experience with TV shows and all that stuff. Now, literally, sports and live radio.
Well, I was gonna say it's drive time, because what we talk about, I don't know if you know Chris Ferrone or not, but we talk.
We had him on years ago at JAMN. We had him.
That's I don't know Chris. He's guys everywhere. Good friend of the show, good friend of us. We've known Chris forever. I was talking to him like 2 days ago about this, actually, about how the radio, people think the radio still isn't king, but it is, because you do have something that other people don't have. When you get into a car, that's what happens. Like even when you have all the stuff in cars, I still get in cars and the radio's still on in a lot of people's cars.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it just is. Like I don't know why. It just maybe that shit experience, maybe because when you're getting, you're not even doing the thing. It just goes on and it's just like in the background and there. But that's still a thing. I mean, still 100,000 people listen to the radio every day.
Yeah.
Like that's the numbers. Those are bigger than YouTube numbers. Mm-hmm. And people don't think that though. They think, oh, it's dead.
Yeah.
No, it ain't.
No, it's definitely not dead. But
you have a shared experience. You have like a drive time that if I get into put my podcast on, I'm starting it at a different time.
Right.
I'm not like, oh, you're listening to a different one. We're all in traffic. Yeah. We're all in that shitty fucking traffic on I-95.
Exactly, yeah.
And you look over, the guy's laughing,
Yeah. Like, whereas other people, it's like with everything now, it's the YouTube generation. You get what you want, when you want it, where you want it, your phone, your TV, as many times as you want it, playing it over and over. And some people, Netflix will release a season of a show. There's somebody like myself, if I'm watching a show, I'm maybe getting an episode a week if I'm lucky. And somebody else is like, I watched all 11 episodes Tuesday night. And I'm like, what the? Yeah. You sat in front of your TV.
You forget half of that shit too.
Yeah. So it's just different now.
I had a bunch of questions to ask you about music and playing, like if you ever played anything that they didn't want you to play, but come to find out, you're not even there for the music. You're there for the comedy in between.
Yeah. So, no, you know what I used to get in trouble for is because I wanted to talk more. So I used to blow up songs because in the middle of like after the first chorus, I literally would play an explosion and just go, shut up. And then I'd say, we're going to play it again in like 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. Because we were playing songs like every hour.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, you can't do that. That could be the only time somebody's hearing that song.
Do you ever freeze up on there and not know what to say? Or be like, just tongue-tied?
Maybe before early on. Yeah. Now it's... I'm a little more, like I was saying, when you're having a conversation with somebody, if you flub, you just like kind of keep it moving. So it's just, I just have a little more of that mentality.
So local music. Are you into local music at all?
Honestly, no.
Not really. So you don't have like any local guys you listen to that you did listen to?
Before?
Yeah, at all, because like I mean, we have a lot of local guys on, and I'm sure they'd love to hear that. You're familiar with
yeah,
that.
like
I mean,
the early 2000 dudes, like Acrobatic was like my guy. We got him on. We used to have him doing sports for us because he was so good.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but like 7L
We
and
both know
Esoteric, like
There we go.
all. I mean, if you want to go before Ed OG, like all those dudes.
Good friend of the show too.
But like now, Joyner Lucas.
Okay, all right.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not. Yeah.
There's a lot of connections to Joyner in this. You're saying Joyner. Joyner's actually the guy in that thing. My producer, you all friends with him, is one of Joyner's producers.
Oh, get out.
Yeah, so he's one of his engineer, but he also produces some of his records as well too.
Yeah. So he would be, but I mean, is he really local at this point? And
Right,
he's just a big ass artist who happens to be.
Who is there anyone that you've been just starstruck by? I mean, there has to be.
Yeah, myself,
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone.
What was he on for?
We had him on years ago. I've been promoting a movie or something.
Okay.
Sylvester Stallone. All the dudes that like when I was a kid were like my.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my heroes too.
Yeah, like
for
my
sure.
hero, Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And like Hulk Hogan.
right.
Hulk Hogan's in all types of fucking trouble now.
Oh yeah, he needs to keep his mouth shut. But yeah, before we'd have people, and I think that's what was fun about the show, because we'd have people come in, and I wasn't like fangirling anybody. It would be like I would respect them. Like it was funny because at the time, I remember I was like, okay, I want to try and stick out some way. And in hip hop, it was weird. It was like everybody was, when they had guests, they were either like, for lack of a better term, like kissing their ass, or the exact opposite, just being a complete piece of shit, trying to get the person, the
Bait
gotcha
'em.
questions and bait them and all that stuff, and being crazy confrontational. And I was kind of like, I could be like in the middle where like
Like a normal human.
just normal. I'm not gonna kiss your ass. But if we disagree on something, I'll let you know I disagree. But I'm not gonna get you in and just like try and fuck with you. For a little bit, I did that. Then I was like, no, that's just like not sustainable, because that's just not who I am. So I started doing it, just kind of just having a conversation. And I remember at the time it was what the hell was his name? Remember the show Your Mama? It was like on MTV.
Oh,
it was
Wilmer
Valderrama. Yes. And he was like, at the time he was dating
Mandy Moore or something, maybe.
I don't know. He was having sex with whoever was like the girl, the females in Hollywood. Somehow he was like connected to them all. And so we had him on, and we were talking, and I said to him, it was something like I compared life to high school, and I was like, dude, I'm like in high school right now. You're the guy,
right?
You're the dude that all the other guys are coming up and being like, "Yo, what? Tell me, like, how are you doing this? Is it the accent? Is it like, are you the cool foreigner? Like, what is it? So anyway, we finished the interview, and it was on the phone, and we thanked him, and he goes, hold on a second, and because at the time he was going through, I forget, there was some shit with him, and we did talk about it, but I didn't go like, tell me about this, but we got into it. So he goes, hold on a second. I said, yeah. And he goes, hey, man, I just want to say thank you. That was really I really enjoyed talking to you. A lot of people either try and catch me saying something so they can be like, oh, I got him saying this.
Yeah.
Or they do it another way. He's like, I literally just had a really good, fun conversation with you. And, a lot of times I don't want to talk about certain things, but, you like, it was like a really cool compliment. And that planted in my head that was like, I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing it the right way. And another time was Jonah Hill came in, because what I would do is I'd have guests come in while we were live on the air. So instead of sitting them down and going, all right, we're gonna go after this or whatever, we'd be live, and I'd be like, all right, bring them in now.
Yeah.
So they just come in, and we just start BSing while we were live. And Jonah Hill, I remember we were just talking, and he had like a Coke or something. He had a can of something. And he took a sip, and he went to throw it in the trash, and he missed it. And he goes, oh, shit. And then he just turned around and kept on talking. And I was like, dude, you're not going to apologize? He goes, for what? And I said, for swearing. He goes, we're on air? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, my God, I didn't even realize. I thought we were just BSing. And like, I'm like, okay, that's when I felt like I was doing it right, because they got so comfortable that with a mic in their face and headphones on, they still kind of
on the radio, yeah.
They just still had regular conversation.
Has there been anyone with whom you got into something confrontational?
Oh, Mike Epps.
Yeah.
That was he came in at the time. And it's funny because he ended up calling me back a couple months later and like apologizing.
Okay.
He was going through shit. But he came in and we were talking and he had, you know, some people come in, they got the sunglasses on, they act like they're too cool for the room. And at one point, I was like, do you even want to be here? You know?
You said it.
And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, I don't know. It just seems like I know it's early in the morning and stuff, but like, you just seem like you don't want to be here.
Right.
And I think that caught him off guard. And then he actually wanted me. He's like, let's go outside and fight or whatever. No, at first he was no.
What?
At first he was
Mike
like,
Epps gets down.
no. At first he was trying to say, I forget how he said it, but he basically was like, I don't know what you're talking about or whatever. So I just started taking calls on the air, and they were all like, get this dude off the air. He sucks, whatever. You sound like you don't want to be there. And he's like, you're planting these calls. And I said, well, how am I planting these calls? Look, you want to answer the phone? And that's when he challenged me to go outside and fight. And he ended up like getting up and walking out. So then like probably like a couple months later, and he called back and he's like, I just want to apologize. Honestly, I was going through some personal stuff at the time, and I don't want you to think that that's how I normally am and stuff, because I think after that, he tried to come on for something, and I was like, nope. I'm not going to have him on. Just
Not back in my house.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we going to have him on for? It's going to be the same bullshit. So,
right.
And I think he got word of that, so he called and apologized, and after that, it was cool.
Have you had an interview that went like way better than you thought it was going to be? Maybe you thought someone was going to come in and thought it wasn't going to be anything special, but then meeting them was like, holy shit, this person is pretty impressive.
50 Cent was real. Like you're kind of like, oh, they're probably, because some people are weird. It's like some people like a lot of like one-hit wonder people will come in and they act like they cured cancer, and they just like.
And you've been around long enough to like know that shit. Like,
and then I'll see the people who've been around for a long time, and they know, they play the game. They might not give you everything, but they play the game and stuff. And then there are people who just think they're too cool for the room, and they do. I've always said, at some point in hip hop, somebody said, you know what? When you're gonna do a show, never show up on time. Show up late and disrespect your fans. They love that shit. And every time we've thrown a concert and stuff, they always show up late. So 50 was like in the bucket of those dudes that I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those like show up late and act like he doesn't want to be there or whatever. And the first time I think was at a show, and we started talking to him in his dressing room, and he had, every hip hop guy has like 9 guys in there who like, I don't know what they put when they fill out their taxes as far as their occupation, because they just literally like standing on stage and doing nothing.
Yeah, stand there, look tough.
Yeah, and he has had a bunch of dudes in his dressing room and just talking, being loud, and we were trying to talk to him on the couch, and he was like, hold on a second. And he turned around and he goes, shut the fuck up or get the fuck out. I want to have an interview right now. Like he threw everybody out basically, and then he was like, I'm sorry. And then he had like a real cool conversation with us. So I was like, okay.
Because he's super professional, right?
He is super professional.
He's executive producer of Power. I mean, he's got like all these things going at one time.
Well, I put him in the bucket of like he's somebody who can separate. Like people will see him and go, 50 Cent, he's a piece of shit. He's always like beefing with everybody or talking trash to his own son. But at the same time, he's doing something right. Business-wise.
Oh, for sure.
I think Tony Ayo was on Vlad talking about, like, if you're a minute late, he'll leave without you. Like, leave the helicopter.
Yeah,
he'll leave you on the island. He don't give a shit. He'll leave you on the boat. You don't give a fuck. Like, if you're not ready to go, when he's ready to go, you're back.
Because he came from a certain, background, and I think sometimes people lose sight of that when they hit a certain whatever level. And I think he always has that mentality of like, no, I got to kind of keep grinding and stick with what brought me to the dance.
And also he's just a personable guy.
Very personable.
Smiley, like
very
makes
personable.
people feel at ease is what I've heard. My favorite 50 Cent story, though, I was in college and this, one of my buddy's girlfriends, her friend had gone out with 50 Cent and they smash. And then they go out to the club that night and he walks in and they're like, is she with you? And he's like, no.
Perfect.
That's how he ditched her.
Have you ever had a I shouldn't have met my heroes moment?
Because we've never had one of those.
I had one. I had one the other day.
You know what's funny? So how I was telling you guys, I love the show NFL Primetime.
Yeah.
I've had many opportunities to meet Chris Berman, and somebody told me one time, they said he's kind of a piece of shit.
He is.
In real life. And so I've always turned it down. And people were like, why are you turning it down? I said, because
I don't want to ruin him for me.
like that's the guy who kind of like got me on the path of doing what I want to do. He planted the seed. I'm like, I don't want to meet him and have him be a dick.
Yeah.
When you brought it up, I was gonna. There's a ton of videos of him out there being like kind of an asshole to
Yeah.
like his staff. Like
Yeah.
in between, like when the camera stops, he'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, and then, hey, back to you know what I mean? That
Doing
kind
the
of
Ellen
shit.
DeGeneres.
Like,
Right.
degrading people and then turning right around and smiling on the camera.
Yeah. So, but I can't think of. Like I said, I think the only guys that I was like, oh, you're the fucking man was Sylvester. So like all the guys like when I was kids that were like my freaking, my toys grown up.
Do you have a since this is like a hip hop podcast, do you have like a memory of like the 50 Cent one's good, but of anybody else coming in and anything cool happening? I like WERS. I remember like D Block going past a promo thing of G Unit and like blackening out Tony Ayo's eyes when they were fighting
really?
and like stuff like that. Anything that pops out to you that
or any like the posse stories, like the hanger on stories.
Yeah.
Like do the guys have a there you go.
The hanger on is the
There it is.
funniest one. We used to have when we used to do our big concerts, we'd set up the back. We'd set up the back in a really, really cool way, actually. We'd have to bring the artist in, and we'd have one area that was a table with just a ton of shit on it, like posters, their CDs, Xboxes, all that stuff. So on that first table, they'd go and just sign everything. And then we'd use that for like charity or giveaways or whatever. Then the next thing, they'd go down and they would do the next thing I think was like they would just like do drops for the radio station. Yo, this is whoever, and you're listening to whatever. Which, by the way, that's when you learn a lot of people really. I'm not saying that they're illiterate.
yeah.
Oh yeah, drops are the worst. They're the worst.
But
yeah, and sometimes it's the people that you expect would be the best at them that you're like, whoa, what's happening?
Because we're probably gonna get you to do a drop when we leave. We have our guests always do them, and rappers are just so bad at them.
Yeah.
like why don't you know how to do this?
Yeah, I'm like, do you write down your rhymes? And like, are you?
We say the same shit. Like,
Yeah.
how do you not know how to do this?
They're
Like,
not big words. It's one sentence.
Wait, while we're on this real quick, Hustle Simmons was saying that most of the Jay-Z
Oh, yeah.
drops I've heard were done by Jay Farrow and are not Jay-Z. Is that true?
Probably. He does an amazing Jay-Z. He
Yeah,
does an amazing
He was saying that like Pharaoh does like almost all the fucking
Yeah.
drops that people have.
him and Ari Spears.
Yeah.
Another one who kills the impressions.
Wait, can you get in trouble for that? Like,
So I don't care. I used to have one thing that we used to do that was I always wanted to do things that were like a little bit different from everyone else. So what I would do when we do drops and people would fuck up, I'd be like, that's the one we're running on air.
that's what he likes to do.
Yeah.
Take the shittiest
So
one.
the most famous one was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, here we go.
3 minutes of him trying to pronounce Ramiro and Pebbles. He couldn't fucking do it. And I literally left the whole thing of him going, Ramiro, Pebble. Okay, let's do it again. And just him trying to get it. So from that, I would literally, when we'd have people come in, I'd be like, hey, listen, if you fuck up, I'm just gonna let you know what's gonna happen. So I would play the Arnold thing for them. And so I remember Matt Damon, he recorded a bunch, but his microphone was aiming a certain way, and he was like, he did it, and you would hear him from this is Matt Damon, whatever, and then you heard him go, oh no, the mic was aiming wrong. Fuck, this is gonna be Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we left that in. We had the Big Show, the wrestler, do his whole thing impersonating Arnold Schwarzenegger and his voice. We had God, I don't even know. Literally, just like a million.
You haven't
people
used AI yet to do drops.
I haven't.
That's
I would
what's
love it.
That's got to be coming. You're going to be able to just type in whoever you want.
Yeah.
Jam Scam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who came up with that?
That was something. I mean, that's just like an old. Literally, every freaking radio guy has done it.
Yeah.
I just think that I did it better than anybody else.
Were there?
Man is humble.
I mean, obviously, a million questions. Start with. Was there any one that you couldn't play?
Oh yeah, there are a ton that we couldn't play because you had to get the person's permission to run it ultimately.
Okay.
Which I would argue probably the best ones didn't run because of that, and there were some ones that weren't that great that didn't run because they didn't get permission, and everybody's reasoning was the same. Everyone's gonna know who I am, and I'm like, you're 6 stupid fucking friends,
Right.
that like fucking with you. Yes, they're gonna continue to fuck with you. But do you think like if you're from like Weymouth, somebody listening from Nashua, New Hampshire is gonna figure out who you are? No, they're gonna hear it and go, "Hey, I just heard some idiot get busted for freaking not paying his rent," and they're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
Did you ever have anyone like show up at the radio station?
No, but the
the way you just said that was
no. The best ones I had with those was when like I did Vince Wilfork, I got him one time. I would get like if we meet athletes, they'd be like, "You got to do this shit to this person or whatever." And so Vince Wilfork, when he was on the Patriots, we did it. I forget who on the Bruins I did it to, but I saw him a few years later, and I didn't know. I'm not like a big hockey guy, so I knew he was a Bruin. I was doing some event, and I knew there was a Bruin there. I didn't know it was the guy that like we fucked with. But I just remember seeing him from across the room, and like, you know when you can tell like someone's looking at you,
yeah,
but like
they can't,
not in
Jizza with you,
not in a nice way, kind of, like he was doing that to me, and I was like, does he want to fight me? I don't even know who this guy is. I remember I went outside. It was like a dog event, like we were literally like it was like a adopt a dog or something. So I brought my dog outside to like take a piss, and he came out, and I was like, this is it. I can't believe I'm gonna get into a fucking fight, and I don't even know what for. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Are you Ramiro?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "A couple of years ago, you fucked with me about whatever. That shit was hilarious." And I'm like, "Thank God, man."
You're like,
I
you're mean.
I was like, "Yo, I thought this was want to fight me." So, and then another time we got it was one of the New England Revolution dudes, but the entire team was in on it. So they were like, "Yo, you got to call him at this time because this is when we finish our practice or whatever. He just got traded to the team. He's been pissing everyone off, complaining about his moving stuff." He's like, "So you got to fuck with him about, saying his shit is going to show up or whatever." So call him up. He's, he answers. It was something about like, I think we said like your moving truck fell off the side of the road or whatever. So your shit's not going to be there. And he's like, "Well, why is it not going to be here? Or when's it gonna be here?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. Honestly, man, I'm not concerned about you right now. I'm concerned about the fucking truck and the driver. You don't care about that. You care about your stupid couch." He was fucking, and you can hear the echo because he was in the locker room. And then all of a sudden, when I told him what it was, you just heard like this raucous like laughter because literally the entire team was like, "This is it. He's getting fucked with right now." So those are some of my favorite ones.
That's amazing.
Was there ever one that you wouldn't do?
Not that I could think of. I would do anything. Because worst case scenario, I'm not doing it live. I'm like, worst case scenario, if I tape it, it's a little crazy or whatever.
Do you have like an absolute favorite?
Probably one of the athlete ones. I can't think of like one specific. I haven't done those in so long. Yeah, but probably one of the athlete ones because, they would, it was just like a little more memorable to me.
What's your favorite part of being on the radio?
My favorite part is literally every day is something different. So I wake up in the morning and I'm excited about going in because I'm not like drilling holes in car doors on a conveyor belt or something. You're not doing the same thing, So I just get excited about like, oh, what's gonna happen today?
It's a crazy. So being in radio, everybody probably thinks it's a dream job. What's something that isn't a dream job about it? That makes like it's a job still.
Yeah,
it's still a job.
Oh, I mean, the lifestyle sucks because you want to be on a morning drive. That's like the main event, but. Like I said, I get up at 2:00 in the morning. I go to bed at like 7, between 7:30.
And you've been doing that for 30 years?
Yeah, it's since 2001. That's when I started doing mornings.
And what do you do on the weekends? You keep that schedule just so you're not.
I get up at anywhere between 5 and 6. I'm still getting up early.
5 and 6. Yeah.
So now you're on the Get Up crew.
Yep.
That's 96.9, Hot 96.9. How long you been up there for?
2016, so what's that, 8 years?
8 years?
Yeah.
8 years. It's the same people, right, from 94.5?
Yeah.
It's all, so how does something like that happen? How does like, you go from, is that even?
Dumb luck. Honestly, yeah. It was Hot signed on. Pebbles was already over there. Melissa went over there. I was still at JAMN, and then I was just having bullshit with that's another part of radio sucks, the actual business part of it.
Yep.
So it was just like a contract thing that I was like, I was just like,
you weren't getting your $1 million a year.
I wasn't getting my $1 million a year, and I was like, yo, you don't give me 7 figures, I don't know what to do, man.
Right.
I'm out this bitch. No, it was more like I just had at the time, I had just personal shit like I was divorced, but my ex-wife developed brain cancer, so I was kind of dealing with that. And as far as at JAMN, I was a program director, a newer one, not the one who brought me into the business or anything. He was working in New York at the time, and we just didn't see. At the time, I was like, this dude just sucks. Now looking a little bit in retrospect, we just had two different styles. He was actually, I remember saying this to him. I said to him, I go, you would make an amazing college coach, but you would never succeed in the NFL. And because he would love to hit me with sports analogies for stuff. So I hit him with that one. He said, what do you mean? I explained that. And I said, a college coach, right? He gets all kids basically the same age. They all come in, and he's just like, guys, just do exactly what I say. Listen to me, and we're going to win. And he gets everybody on the same exact page because, again, they're all basically in the same stage of life. And, they go about, and then he resets that every couple of years. I said an NFL coach is dealing with a kid who just got out of college. He's dealing with a guy who's been in the league for 5 years and is about to be like, yo, this is my fucking season to get
they
my,
all
my
their own
major
managers.
contract. Yeah, he's dealing with a guy who's on his way out trying to stay in the league. He's dealing with somebody else who's like, oh, this fucking guy's trying to take my spot. He's dealing with a bunch of different personalities, but somehow he manages to deal with them individually. Also, he figures out how to do that. He gets to know them on a different level. And I said to him, I go, you're just trying to get everybody on the same exact page, like this blanket person, and that's not the way I work personally. I like to.
Your favorite thing about radio is your freedom, not knowing what's going to happen during your day.
Right.
So that's not going to jive.
Yeah, and I'm also. I remember years ago they gave us I think it was called a Gallup poll. It's like basically a questionnaire, like a personality profile. And it kind of like there are no wrong answers, but it tells you kind of like what motivates you, all that stuff. And one of the things on mine said could be perceived as being resistant to authority or whatever. But it said because if you say, hey, let's do this, my first thing is why? Not why because I think it's a stupid idea or whatever. I'm just curious. Why? What's the thought process? What are we thinking about long term? All that stuff. Whenever with that program director, whenever he would say stuff and I'd be like, why? He'd be like, I know you're not on board with this. And I'm like, who the fuck said I wasn't on board? So I remember I literally found that thing was probably like at the time 10, 15 years old. I found it and I came into his office and I was like, yo, I just want to show you this. And I dropped it on his desk. And this was one of the times when I knew I was like, yo, I'm out of here. He looked at it. Didn't even open it. It was like, it was probably like 10, 15 pages. And he goes, all right, cool. And he slid it back to me. And I said, no. That's a copy. I made a copy for you to read.
So you could
understand me so we can figure this out.
He's like, I'm not interested in understanding
he was just
you.
like, oh, that's cool. Thanks. And I'm like, no, read that. And I remember that planted a seed of me being like, this ain't going to work. So then like when I finally left, it was, they were trying to sign me to a contract. And it was 2015. And my contract ended at literally December 31st. But there's like weird clauses in there where like, you could negotiate with someone else like 3 months out. You can only negotiate exclusively with the company like 6 months out, all this bullshit. So literally like right at the point where I could start negotiating with the company, they gave me the contract and they were like, have this signed tomorrow. And I said, I'm not going to have this signed tomorrow. Why not? And I said, I doubt everything that I see in there is going to be something that I'm going to agree with. And I don't know what lawyer or representative in the world I could give this to that's going to look at this and in one day.
Right. They just expect that you aren't going to read.
Yeah. Like I go, it's just not going to work out. And they said, well, if you don't have this signed, bad things. They were trying to kind of implying that they were going to take me off the air. And I was like, whatever, dude. I don't give a shit. Like at that point, I literally was like, I've been on long enough. I feel like if I left here and
you'll find a home elsewhere.
Yeah, I'll find a home elsewhere. Maybe in Boston. Maybe at Hot. So it's called pay for play. So it was July 1st or 2nd. They took me off the air, but the way the contract works, or the way they did it, was they they still paid me my full salary for the rest of the year, but I couldn't go anywhere and I couldn't talk to anybody else. It was like a weird thing. So I remember being like, this isn't that bad. If this works out the way it is, it could be pretty cool. So, but I couldn't talk to anybody. So like I was hoping that I would be able to get in at hot. And literally that in 2015, December 31st was on a Friday. Excuse me. Midnight hit January 1st.
Merry Christmas, Ramiro.
January 2nd, January 3rd, that Monday, my old program director called me up and he's like, let's do this. I'm like, let's fucking do this. And so I started January of 2016. And listen, after
that long, huh?
After being out for 6 months, it's like a freaking wrestler who comes back at the Royal Rumble and the music hits because he's been out with an injury. And people are like, oh shit, look who's back.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about going to satellite radio?
I did, but again, at the time I couldn't talk to anybody. And now, well, at the time, everybody was like, listen, they give all the money to Howard Stern. Nobody else makes like anything. Everyone else, I think, makes just like kind of regular type money. Now, I think because Howard Stern is on his way out, they're starting to sign like all the different big podcasters and stuff and giving all them the big money. So that's what I'm saying. Radio gets no respect.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I mean, you guys are syndicated, right? You guys are in four different markets.
Yeah.
Vegas, Georgia.
Vegas, Augusta, Georgia, and Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is interesting because now, because we've been on in Boston so long, and here it's completely brand new, we have to...
I see what you're saying. You have to indoctrinate the new people without alienating the old people.
Right. You have a relationship here.
People are coming in season 15.
Yes, exactly. Meanwhile, for the new stations, we got to like reintroduce the characters.
Exactly. And
in the
why are they showing Ned Stark again? I've already fucking seen. Yeah, exactly.
And we can't do we just can't go hit the ground running doing the same shit we're doing here, because especially now people will be like with me, a lot of stuff I do, I can get away with it because they've been listening for so long, and they're like, "Oh, that's just I know how he is."
Right.
But if for those markets, they'll be like, "What? What's he say? How could he?"
Yeah. Is there a different in the southern markets compared to like an East Coast city market?
So far, I mean, we've only been on for a couple weeks, so yeah. But I think Southern is a little more conservative.
Yeah, I would think so. No Puerto Ricans down there either.
And there ain't no Puerto Rican, and there ain't no Puerto Ricans in Vegas. They're all Mexican.
Yeah, that's true.
So and in Vegas, the one big thing is that they said, listen, no out of market shows have ever worked here. They're like, Howard Stern didn't work here. They went through a list of a bunch of people who tried to be syndicated. Breakfast Club didn't work here. This one didn't work here. And I was like, all right, noted. That's the challenge. So let's see if we can make it work.
That'd be cool to have the run of Vegas be known there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Do you guys know before you get syndicated, do you know that's coming on the pipeline? Or is that something that's like, hey, surprise one day, you're like, holy shit, we're across the country now?
It was a combination of both. It was kind of like, hey, we're gonna start doing this in a week. And I'm like, wait, what? But it's a good and bad thing, because one of the reasons they did it was because the company right now is like, we got to save money. So they were like, you're fired. We'll take this show and put you in there.
Well, that means that you had the good show.
I was on the better side of that seesaw, I guess.
Yeah, that means you're the better one. Okay, so you guys do the thing now, the second date update.
Yep.
Okay, so scale from 1 to 10. How real are they?
On our end?
Yeah.
10. On the other end, who the hell knows? And I got to be honest, I say this all the time. I don't give a shit. If somebody's calling me up and it's entertaining, we'll have people who try and fake it. But I'm like, you suck. I can tell you're faking it. If somebody calls up and they're faking it and it's funny, I just want people to laugh.
That's your whole goal is just comedy.
I could give a shit. You want to fake it just so you can get a free gift card to freaking Pizzeria Uno? Here.
Yeah.
Here. I don't care.
So
it's content.
It's kind of blown my mind to know that your whole career, you weren't really even into the music part of it. You were more into the comedy, the aspect, the showmanship, that. The music was just a byproduct of getting your voice out there.
That's coming from a musician's perspective, because no part of me thought that he gave a shit about the music. As a radio person, well,
because I mean, Hush. I don't know. As a music person, you would think that the person that ends up on the radio wants to control the music.
Right.
That's what you would. That's
I
what.
feel like club DJs more so like is more like
Yeah.
breaking artists and stuff.
Do you do
like
any
that.
clubs or anything like that? Or
I used to, but
Do you actually DJ?
No.
Yeah.
No. I would go do appearances and stuff, and I used to do
Walkthroughs.
I used to do a shitload before I got on mornings. Once I got on mornings, I was like,
I gotta be asleep. Yeah.
yeah, no.
So, are there any of these second date updates? Are there any ones that like are burned into your brain?
One dude, no, the one that,
Yup.
a dude who like he some guy bullied him in high school, so he ended up fucking his mom.
What?
Oh, I remember that one.
I
remember that
He had
one.
like a plan where he like seduced the guy's mom.
He did, yeah.
Banged her and then fucking bounced on her.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like it was years? Wasn't it
Something like that.
It was like a big long.
It was just like,
Like
he's
he
like,
ran into her or
he
something?
was like, tell your fucking son, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, shit. And again, real or not, that shit was entertaining as fuck.
Right.
And you've never had a deal out like the same thing with the Jams. You never had a deal out with that and like a fallout from one of those in real life. No one ever showed up at the station. Was like, yo, where the fuck's Ramiro at?
No,
Like,
because we got to get permission again to do it. Like the biggest pain in the ass is getting the person on the phone, especially now. You get people who just don't answer. You get people who answer and hang up and then don't answer again. And if you, the worst is when you get it, if it's good, because we get a lot of, I don't know, we just didn't vibe. Which, I don't
Yeah,
get,
you can't
yeah,
win that,
you can't run that. But like, if we get it and it's some good shit, and they're like, no, don't run me on the air, don't run me on the air. And
how do these people even like? How do you find these people? Like, what the? These people call into you and be like, "This is what I want to
Yeah, they
embarrass
send-
the fuck out of myself right now. Is what I want to do."
Well, nobody. The funny thing is, I've met like some of the people that have called us for it, like the fucked up ones.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I'm like, I could see why you would get a first date. Like you're attractive, you dress normal, because you hear them and you're like, how are you walking around unsupervised?
Right.
But like, but I meet them and I'm like, you called me? Yeah, I called for the date with that girl, and I'm like, dude, you got your shit together.
Right.
Or the girl I'll meet her and I'm like, you're fucking pretty. What's going on? But it's just like everybody else. You got a ton of single people, and they're single for a reason.
Right.
You know?
Keep getting recycled back into. They're all avoidance. If we looked at our attachment style, as you were trying to put the Strength Finders test down on your old program director's desk. Anyway,
Top 5 radio jams.
Top 5.
I mean, because you are like there are different commercial radio jams compared to like underground jams. Big difference.
I'm gonna go with just my see.
There's got to be some songs you play that you like.
Dr. Dre's my shit. I love.
Okay.
I'm all about beats when it comes to hip hop.
Okay.
That's why I'm
All
not
right.
a hardcore like. People will be like, this guy's lyrical content, and I'm like, I don't. If the beat's not hitting, for myself personally, I don't even know what the song could be insulting me, but if it's got a good beat, I'm like, let's play it. It's fucking awesome.
Everyone else, when they get in their car, plays you. When you get in your car, who do you play?
I would say I like 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s type of hip hop. Like my
Okay.
favorite Dr. Dre. Like
so what you were
The
listening to in
Chronic.
high school?
Are you a hip hop guy, or
Probably.
is like do you listen to other stuff?
No, I listen to freaking EDM, all that shit. I
Okay,
listen.
what's your go-to? What's your go-to kind of music?
It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood to get energized. I'll put some EDM shit on. Sometimes if it's like a nice day out, I'm like, let's go 90s hip hop and just fucking.
How
play some
did
cool
Not
shit
Like Us become the #1 fucking radio jam and just played everywhere nonstop?
I don't know. People like, as much as everybody in society right now is like, people should not be mean to each other. Everyone should be nice. They hear some shit like that and they're like, yeah,
Pedophile.
yeah. And they're like,
Crazy.
fuck Drake. And I'm like, hey, honestly, like I love Not Like Us. I think Kendrick won the beef, but Drake has been going for like 15 years now.
Right.
In what a lot of people would consider like what they would love to be at. Like you're like a mainstream top 40 hip hop type artist. So he's not doing too bad himself.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Finally, someone agrees.
He's a big Drake guy,
Yeah.
not a Drake
See,
guy.
my favorite Drake though, it was probably I would say 20, maybe from like 2010 12 to 26 like headlines and like that was my
era.
Yeah, like once he started slowing down the music and I don't know, trying to sound romantic.
I like that last Cash Money. What was it? If you're reading this, it's too late. Like that era. Too.
Yeah.
Energy and stuff.
Yeah, but like
is that the Take Care era too? Did that come right after that? Yeah, both those.
like around that. That's like that's the Drake.
This dude's been waiting for someone to come on and agree with him.
But yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, Kendrick won that. I'm like, but listen, I if you said to me, Kendrick or Drake, whose songs, who are you gonna play more of their shit?
Right, Drake,
I'm gonna play more
definitely,
Drake.
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand why they picked that song. I'm still trying to figure out why is that the most appealing song, other than the A minor.
It's crazy how when you put that, or when you hear that song in any setting, everybody like stops what they're doing, puts their shit down, and dances.
Yeah,
and like it doesn't matter if you dance. It's fucking mind blowing to me. Like you'll be like at the DMV and that shit will somebody in the shit where everyone will just stop and dance and shit.
A lot of shows I've been to recently, when the show is closing,
they put that
the
on.
song they play and everyone leaves to it.
And they like, and the thing is they'll play it like 3 times in a row, and like people will fucking come back for it every fucking time. They sing the A minor line every time, every single time. It's just it's crazy to me.
Every sports team they win, they're not like us because everybody hates it. No, everybody hates you. You're creating that.
Well, I don't know, man. Like if you're that thing, yes. But like if you're Drake, as a grown man, even like, you know, I mean, you must have a healthy sense of like esteem and stuff like that, your position. But like, no matter who you are, if the whole country is like singing about that you being a pedophile, that has to fucking hurt. Like you know what I mean?
What
like
it is too is Kendrick on that joint. Like the other disses were good, but like that's comparable to a Drake song. It's a mainstream diss. It's like a back to back. So it's like that's why people love it, because like, oh, now they're playing the same game. Yeah. And Kendrick beat him at his own game, kind of.
Right.
But I still,
for me, I'm like, the beat is catchy. All the other ones, I'm like, it's all right. But this one, I'm like, all right, I can get down with that beat.
Yeah, nice.
I'm basic.
So you're saying Dre? Do you have like a favorite album or a favorite like?
Oh, Chronic 2001.
That's it, right?
Still
there.
DRE.
That's it, right?
So
there.
you like 2001 more than the first Chronic?
Yeah,
definitely. Well, what do you mean, definitely?
He's like 12 years old.
Okay, yeah, sorry. All right.
No, I do. I think
they're both so good. I don't know.
They're both good. But like, if I had to pick one, I think at that one he was just
the Chronic or Doggy Style, the original Chronic or Doggy Style.
I'd have to go back and re-listen to both of them. Though both of them are fantastic.
Have you ever had a stalker?
Yes.
Showed you the tattoo.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and not the girl not the girl you forced to get your face tattooed on her back to get tickets.
Yeah, I've never had a stalker that I've been like, this person's gonna stab me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've had people that show up to everything and they want to like, and again, I'm a big eye guy. I can tell by the way someone looks at you. I call it crazy eyes. I'm like, oh, she got the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like she doesn't like, or the most amount of time between blinks.
Have you ever gone on a date with anyone, a fan? No? You've been asked out? I know you have.
I have.
Probably a ton of times.
Oh my God. And because, I mean, I was married when I started doing mornings. And then I got divorced a little bit and dated a little bit there. And it was a cool, and then I got remarried again. But the in between was fun because it was the first time I was like,
my celebrity's working for me.
No, that I was like, I didn't want a relationship with anybody, so I would literally talk to the girls and be like, hey, listen, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. We can hang out, but honestly, I get up early.
Yeah.
I got my kids on the weekends. I'm like, so if we can figure it out, no implied dates, and if you start talking to someone else or whatever, start smashing another guy, just let me know. It's all good. And if I do it, I'll give you the respect. And that's probably the first time I was the most honest ever with a girl, and that shit worked. only one girl was like, it got a little crazy, and when she got crazy, it was so easy to be logical, and I was like, didn't we have this conversation before? Yeah, but, and I was like, and didn't I say this? Yeah, but, and what about this? Yeah, but, and I'm like, there is no yeah, but. There is no yeah, but so everybody else was like, cool. Like one girl was like, I think I'm gonna get back with my ex-boyfriend. I'm like, good luck. Shook hands. Boom.
So the key to this dating shit is to just make sure first that you don't want anything serious, and then be as honest as possible.
I don't know what the key is. I don't know. It worked. That works for me.
Because if you want something serious,
so you're saying the dating thing, women fans. You ever get a weird gift?
I'd have to think. It's not as bad now because now I'm in the married with kids stage and everyone knows all that shit.
Well, even woman, like, do fans ever give you some weird shit?
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything recently.
You ever get like a painting of you or something like that? Or?
Some girl tried to give me her panties.
Like through the mail or just like when you were at an event?
At an event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like taking them off fresh, like right out of the oven?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, thank you.
I'm good.
Hang them on the wall.
Classy.
So
hang them on the wall. Nothing like no macaroni like portraits or anything like that.
Nothing I could think of like that.
Some big ass. You show up to fucking work when there's just like a big ass package sitting there. You're like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, we used to get stuff like that all the time, but the girls got it more than me. The girl, like, dudes are crazier than girls when it comes to that shit.
Really? I would think that. I would think that like a celebrity, like, man would get more crazy women than like women would get like crazy fan men.
There's some crazy dudes out there. There used to be a guy that came for like Melissa, and he would just like when at our old studio in Waltham, there was like a giant window in the studio where you could look out into the parking lot. He would park his car and just stare through the window.
What the fuck?
And then I think it was that guy or another guy. We were at an appearance and it ended and we were driving and he was calling the radio station. He was like, "Tell Melissa I'm driving right behind her. I brought her lunch." And so she had to like not go home because
it's terrifying.
Yeah. I think girls, I don't know.
Yeah.
Dudes, I think dudes
well,
are
maybe
just
like if you have the one guy could be worse than like the 40 women. You know what I'm saying? Because that one guy potentially is like, well, no, because women can be dangerous as fuck too.
But girls are a little more methodical and think stuff out. Guys are a little more impulsive. Like, think of serial killers and shit like that.
Well,
They're
except
more
for
guys
that
than
one
girls.
guy who spent years figuring out how to bang this dude's mother to get back at him. that guy. There's some methodical in. How many? It's actually, even when you look you up online, it's mentioned your tattoo hobby.
I love tattoos.
Yeah. So
how many?
Yeah. Or do you just
how much time have I spent in a chair?
Well, yeah. How much time have you spent in a cumulative in a chair?
So I got sleeve, chest, across my back.
Okay.
Here and here. So, and I like whenever I go away traveling and stuff, I like it's much better than like a refrigerator magnet or a keychain.
Yeah.
So I got like this one in Italy.
What is that? A Spartan mask? What is that?
Yeah, the Spartan mask. Not everyone's like, "Oh, MF Doom."
Right.
Like,
well, I was gonna say.
Sure.
I was like, "There's no way that's MF Doom."
Yeah.
Okay.
I got one right here, like in London. I got this one in Bali.
So do they mean something?
So
some of them mean something, some of them don't.
Like this one's for my kids. I got the snake with 5 flowers, and each one represents my kids. But for the most part, it's like I just see something cool, and I'm like, yeah.
Now I don't look
Do you
at
go for like specific artists or anything like that?
So
You got a cartoon or anything on there?
I was going to. I used to go to Stingray in Alston, but they're closed down. But there was a guy there, Nate, who I would go to, and there was a random. I don't even know where I first saw his stuff. His name was Andy Shu. He was from Taiwan. Mm-hmm. And I would go to Nate and be like, draw me this in your style. But like, it would always be like some Andy Shu shit. I'd be like, but do it like, do it in your style. And then one day, randomly, I saw he was going to be at the tattoo convention, Andy Shu. Mm-hmm. So then I started seeing him and I got, let's see, this, 4, 5, maybe? I forget. But
like one day?
No. Like over over a couple.
Well, some people do. I know people that have gotten like 2 or 3 at the same fucking time.
Oh yeah,
crazy people.
Well, at the convention one time, I went to see Andy. So like the first time I got him for like the last slot on the last day. And this dude, how many tattoo artists do you know have 0 tattoos?
So he has no tattoos?
0.
That's crazy.
He hasn't found anybody worthy enough to tattoo him. He doesn't speak English, by the way.
He didn't just do one himself, right hand doing his left arm or something?
Nothing.
Interesting.
So, doesn't speak English. All he knows how to say is stand up, sit down, take break, and 2 minutes for when he's almost done. So, he had like an interpreter guy there. So, I made friends with him. Made friends with Andy. He tattooed me. And then like whenever they were going to come back, they're like, hey, Andy's coming back. Do you want a slot? And I'm like, hell yeah. But I mean, I've seen dudes go there and get 2 full sleeves in one weekend and crazy shit like that.
You never did. I'm not looking at a man's legs, but if I was, I would notice that they have no tattoos.
I haven't gone down
Nothing
yet.
Yeah.
Yet. I mean, who knows?
Right.
When the love of tattoos come?
I mean, so I got my first one probably when I was like, I don't know, 21, 22 or something. Like before they were legal in Mass, put it that way, in New Hampshire.
Well, I was just trying to tell these guys that they were illegal in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
That they weren't around for that.
Yeah,
it's wild.
I'll tell people that, and they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Great question," because it's a stupid reason why. You know, it's like tattoos. Just people have a stigma, but so those. But then probably in 2011, 2012, I started getting like bigger, covering more myself, and then like basically like every year I got one. The last one I got was this one. This one I got actually in Miami Inc., which used to be like a reality show, and I would watch it and be like, I fucking love that show. And we went to Miami. I went with my family, and I'm like, I'm going to Miami Inc. I'll be back. And I got this one right here. So
that's dope shit. You all right? So you now you do MMA. You do announcing MMA, and I saw that you fight jiu-jitsu, right? You train jiu-jitsu.
Train jiu-jitsu right now. My dude, because of life and my kids and all that stuff, it's like I take the longest amount of breaks and then go back and get my ass kicked and start loving it again, and then take another amount of breaks.
Well, I saw that you announced the MMA, right?
I announced, for Combat FC.
Do you ever so you've never fought professionally?
No, no. I mean, when I first started doing it, and I actually announced for the UFC a couple times for early pay-per-views, like when they were just doing them in Connecticut. I was the only guy not named Bruce Buffer actually to announce for them, but I was like, maybe I could train like real quick. Maybe I could train. No fucking way. But now there's just you can't, because you got kids who like, I mean they're like 5 years old and they're training. It's you know, it used to be style versus style, and that started. And then it started morphing into like, okay, I do this style, but this style does really good, so I'm going to learn this style too. Now you just got kids who literally are training in everything at once. It's like I'm training in MMA. So they're doing ground shit, standing, fighting, Thai fighting, all that stuff.
How do you even get into something like that announcing?
So with that was the guy who runs the promotion, Joe Cavallaro. He used to run it back in the early 2000s, and then he was bringing it back, and I think he had started asking around, and somebody mentioned me because they knew it's like everything else. It's like a small community, you know. And I used to train with Kenny Florian, who ended up fighting in the UFC, and I just would train with different dudes who were all like in the community, and just everybody kind of knows each other. So somebody brought me up to him. And
you think it also helps, like your voice being like the voice?
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? That's just always like, because I saw that you do voiceover work as well.
Yeah.
So that must, like, that's pretty fucking cool, like, right? Like same thing, like someone just kind of like, what do you do voiceover work for?
I don't do it for anything in particular. It's just if somebody asked me. So like I did one time, this guy, I forget how I started talking to him. His name was Laszlo, and he was connected to what is it, Rockstar, who does Grand Theft Auto.
You're in a video game.
Yeah, and he was like, "Do you want to voice one of the things?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
You're in Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Dude, that's dope as shit.
So like, you know, when you drive, you could just change radio stations.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. Like, I had a friend of mine who played the game like crazy. He ended up finding it because they have so much shit. Like, you could put on a radio station and not hear the same song for hours.
Wow.
And then there's like a shit ton of radio stations. So all I know is I said to my friend, I was like, yo, I play a dude who calls into like a right-wing political show, and I'm railing against gay marriage, but during the conversation, it comes out that I'm actually gay. So look for that. And he ended up finding it for me one time, and he sent it to me.
That's cool as shit, though. Like, how old are your kids? Like, they play video games?
My oldest, 25, 20,
so
17.
At that point, he must think, like, do your kids think you're cool?
Yeah, I mean, as cool as you could think dad is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, is it cool that dad was on Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, that's stuff they
cool.
think is cool. Yeah,
but do they think the radio thing's cool, or is it just played out? It's just normal to them.
It's all they've known. I think the older ones, every now and then, like when people come up or recognize me or whatever, they think it's cool. Growing up, it's just like what I did. So my younger ones right now, they don't really they don't get it.
Register. Do you think it's cool?
I think it's cool because I love it. Yeah, I just like really, like I said, I get up every day, and it's like even if it's something where I'm like, I don't even know. There are days that I get up and I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this, and then there are other days where I get up and I'm like, let's see what happens today. So I love that I get up every morning at fucking 2 a.m. Find me somebody who gets up you're not gonna find many people who get up at 2 a.m. kind of like excited about waking up and starting their day. So, I like that part of it.
You're sitting here right now, like obviously passionate. Like you're passionate. You keep asking like, what do you like about this? You're like, I just
100%.
And you have a new project out.
Yeah, passion project. So it's
passion
like
project.
Yeah, so I'm just like, that's funny because I'll have people be like, oh, do this to promote it, blah blah blah, and I'm like, dude, again, like what we talked about earlier. I'm like, I'm just trying to do it, get into the long form conversation, have fun, and get to know people, and eventually, if it takes off, cool. But right now, literally, the only time I have to record are Fridays at like noon. So
what kind of people do you have on the passion project?
So I've had comedians, fashion. I try and get people from all different industries who are succeeding in it and see like because it's like their passion, and then get their whole story, the ups, the downs, all that bullshit. I just had a magician on. I recorded him on Friday, and he was awesome. I just love magic, and you could tell he had a passion for it.
It's super cool because we were talking about the Mak-Tube and how I have like a podcast network. Like this is like one of the couple podcasts I have. One of the ones I have, my brother passed away heroin 10 years ago, Christmas.
Oh shit.
But he used to say this thing all the time called "Still Out." We out here though. We out here though. We out here though. He's a graffiti writer, one of these guys. And I have a 501(c) called "Still Out Here" though. So I have a podcast that I'm going to be doing eventually called. I did a couple of them. It'll be back, but it's basically people that have succeeded.
Yeah.
In places that like is impressive. Like not even like I have my boy's a barber who went and now he has his own shop and like 5 chairs and like just the process of like not stopping.
I love that. That's what I'm talking about.
It's it. Like the only difference between him and you was he kept doing it and you stopped.
Right.
That's it.
And that's the thing.
That's the only difference.
And I like to get those lessons from people because it's like there's everyone has different stories. First of all, people who have like the weirdest stories are the most interesting people. Like not many people are like, well, I did this and my family raised me right, and then when I went to college and I studied marketing and I got a job at whatever, it's like that's boring. But people who've had like crazy ups and downs are the most interesting, and that's as much as everyone has different stories, there's constant themes, and a lot of the themes are, and it's what I say to my kids. I always bang these 3 words in their head: keep moving forward. When have you ever seen the drawing? It's like one guy in the bottom, one guy in the top. They're both digging,
yep, with the diamonds.
With the diamonds. Yeah. And one walks away and he's like one hit away.
One hit away, yeah.
And the other one's digging and digging. It's gonna take him a little bit longer, but he's gonna hit the diamonds. That's life. Some people they're just like, yeah, this isn't working, and they quit. And it's like, listen, there's the 1% who are like fucking amazing at what they do, and people are like, stick with this fucking yeah. But for the most part, the people who've made it are the ones who just
kept going.
That's
Winston Churchill. That's the famous quote. Yeah. It's like when times get tough, just keep going.
Yeah, and in like in jiu-jitsu, there's a saying where they're like, the black belts aren't the best ones. They're just the ones who never quit. They're the ones who stayed in it. And it's true. A lot of people get in it and they're like, this is too tough now, and they get frustrated and they bounce.
Yeah.
So
it's like anything worth it takes that.
Yeah, if you get handed stuff, you don't appreciate it.
It's not even that though, too. It's like anything that like, which is true, but like anything that like you're looking at to aspire, that's like when you get it and it's actually what you thought it was.
Yeah.
Not like what the idea of it was. Like when you actually obtain it, you're like, oh, this actually does taste good.
Yeah.
That is only worth it with the work.
And
there's no other way.
And that's life. You have to live life with some sort of purpose.
I'm not saying I'm saying life. Like, that goes across the fucking board.
Yeah, that's what wakes you up. And you're like, all right, this is my purpose, and you're pursuing it.
I was just gonna ask. You're on the radio, all the time. You have to get up super early, and yet you still came here on your Memorial Day weekend. What day is it? Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah. What made you decide to come through and do this show? Not that we're not worth it. I don't.
Yeah. No. What's funny is like I felt bad because when we first started.
Felt bad.
No. When we first started talking, and I think you were like, "Oh, we record at 7 o'clock or whatever," and I'm like, "I can't do that. I can only do weekends." And then we were going back and forth a little bit, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be tough because now after Labor Day, my kids are back in school and all that stuff. And on Saturdays, my little ones, it's like activities day. Freaking soccer here, ballet here, gymnastics, all that shit. So I was talking to my wife and I'm like, I got to do this thing. I think I got to do it. The only time I have is Labor Day weekend. And I'm like, and I got this on Saturday. We're not going to be around. Sunday, I'm moving Lily into college. And she was like, do it after that. And I'm like,
so you did a move right before you came here.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He moved his daughter into
into college, into the
dorms.
They call it the sophomore slums, the one she stayed in.
Yeah.
4th floor, no elevator.
Shit.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's brutal.
I was like, I'm gonna show up there just sweaty and smelly.
It's all good. We're hot in here. Man, we really do appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. And obviously we're trying to do something that, like, you know, you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So we really do appreciate you coming in. Is there anything else that you want to before we let him go? I mean, it's been an hour and a half.
I could go. You're a fitness guy too. We didn't go into any of that.
We can go on for hours and hours, but I mean, I think that's pretty much. I think we're good. I mean, we really do. We appreciate your time so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It really does mean a lot. And you've been telling us some great stories. Before we go, anybody that wants to get into radio, what should they do?
I would say. See, it's so different from when
Just call every day like you.
Yeah, call
every day. Just start annoying the hell out of you.
No, it's so different because when I started, it was figure out a way to get on so you can get your reps in that way, basically. Now, anybody could do like a podcast or whatever, but now you got to figure out how to stick out from an ocean full of fish. So it's
these things are fucking hard too.
Yeah,
people just gonna do a podcast. They don't see like all of it. It's
I love this setup.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot. And plus consistency every day, every fucking day. You can't stop even a day. You stop one day, 5 people fill it in.
Yep. So I would say do something like that because then you can get practice and all that stuff, and just constantly. Try and get out. Right now, radio jobs are so scarce. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But just try. Because like when I got on, it was like, all right, get on overnight somewhere and work your way up and whatever. Now the overnights are automated. A lot of stations don't have night people. A lot of stations don't even have afternoon people. So it's like there's just no opportunities.
Yeah. So if you want to get into radio, the best advice is to don't go towards radio.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't get into
Just don't
radio.
do it. Yeah.
I don't think we need to let anyone. I mean, if you want to tell everyone it's this camera right here, where they can find you, like Instagrams and all that stuff, and websites and everything.
Ramiro Torres. I'm terrible with it. RAMIROTORRES is Instagram and Twitter and.
You need a manager. You need a secretary. Somebody to do.
I need
social
something.
media.
I do. Yeah. I do.
Van, anything you want to say before we leave?
No, just like he said. I thank you very much. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Right there. So Sense lives, Marty forever. Like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell, all that boring shit that nobody wants to fucking do, but that's how we get paid.
And we appreciate it. Yeah.
Fuck Kurt Schilling. Peace.
Peace.